Hi guys, my name is Professor Hughes and I'll be walking through English 106 online with you. We're going to very quickly go through the directions for this week so that you know what to expect and you have everything on your agenda and ready to go. So most importantly, you have an essay coming up already. Next week is the rough draft and peer review for your definition paper, so put those in your calendar. And also know that the final draft is due the following week, so keep up on your reading and don't fall behind. A brief note on discussion posts. In order to get participation in this class, you do need to reply to your peers, on 3 different days of the week, and you need to do 2 different posts on those days. They need to be substantial, meaning you need to ask questions, drive the conversation, include important details, and just give us some more things to think about rather than that was just a really good post. Your initial discussion post should also be substantial. They're due on Wednesday and Friday. Those are your answers to the discussion question. Your grammar should be spot on. I should see some APA in-text citations in reference to the weekly reading, and these should be about 200-ish words as you turn them in. So at the end of the week, I'm looking for a total of 8 posts from you to get full participation points. So assignments that are coming up this week, first you have the summary of current course content and class introductions discussions. Just make sure that those get done so that your name stays on the roster. Topic DQ1 and DQ2, like I just talked about, are due Wednesday and Friday. These posts need to also include some interaction with your peers for participation. And then just an overall announcement to make sure you're working on that first essay because it is coming up. I want to take a second to explain discussion question 1. So discussion question 1 talks about expressed arguments or overt arguments and implied arguments. This discussion question is asking you to provide a specific example from the media of an expressed argument and an implied argument and then answer the questions. So I just wanted to show you an example of what that looks like. Let's talk through those together. An implied argument is an argument that is there, but at first glance it doesn't look like this mode of media would have any sort of agenda or hidden lesson going on. So for my example, I might pull out The Lorax. At first glance, The Lorax looks like a fun, kid-friendly movie. It looks like it's just going to entertain the kiddos and they're going to have a good time. However, after watching the movie, you can see that they're trying to teach the kids more about preserving the environment and, more importantly, saving the trees. An example of an overt argument would be an argument that's very in your face about what it wants to portray to the audience. They're not trying to hide that their agenda is to argue a specific claim. So in this example, there's a documentary that recently came out called What is a Woman? In this documentary, they're being very direct with their purpose, which is to argue that gender is assigned at birth in alignment with their opinion. So I would use my 2 examples in order to help me answer the discussions for DQ1. You can choose any type of media. I chose movies for my examples, but you could also choose commercial or TV show or really anything that fits the assignment. Then you can go ahead and answer the question. So the first one talks about the overt argument. What's the argument that you identified? What specific argument does the author make? And what evidence does the author use to support his or her claims? So you do need to be fairly familiar with the examples that you're choosing in order to answer these questions. You don't have to give me specific quotes from a movie, for example. If you're choosing a movie, just tell me about a specific time in the movie where you saw an argument come out. And then numbers 3 and 4, you will need to refer to our textbook chapter 1 to answer. Discussion question 2 is a little bit more scary, I guess, because it's getting you started on actually writing your essay. So before you even attempt this prompt, I do want you to watch the video that's in the DQ prompt. There's a link there for the writing process. Refresh your memory as to what a solid thesis statement should look like. Make sure that you do read chapter 1 of the ebook and even chapter 5. 5 isn't assigned yet, but it will be really helpful for you to read this chapter because it explains the overall essay, where it is that we're going, what it is that you're going to be writing about. So knowing what's ahead is going to help you in constructing your thesis statement. And then also, if you want further clarification on the assignment, you can read the definition essay assignment resource. If you go to the first draft Dropbox, that attachment can be seen in there. Okay, so the purpose of this essay is to define a term in relation to your position on organ sales or donations. So your topic is a little bit loose in this area. You need to stay within the realm of organs. However, you can talk about people selling their organs illegally, or you can talk about people donating their organs legally, and your take on either one of those things. Is it good or is it bad? Are there potential consequences? What is it that you think about this topic? Okay, so why are we defining our terms? Defining your terms is what makes your argument credible. It's a great starting place in terms of argumentative essays. So there's a lot of different ways to argue, and we're going to go over a few more of those ways later on in this course, but this is a crucial starting point. If anybody comes to the table with a different definition of a term, then no progress is going to be made on a given subject. So, for example, we've all heard the argument that cheerleading is not a sport. And then somebody else will chime in and say, yes, it is a sport, and people can go back and forth on that all day. However, no progress is going to be made unless each party comes to the table with an understanding as to what a sport is. Once this is established, then they can go on to decide if cheerleading truly is a sport in relation to the definition that was just provided and agreed upon. So when you're making a claim, you need to define at least one key term for this paper. So for example, if a student comes to their professor and they don't understand why they got a low score on an essay, then the professor may need to go back and define what an essay means. The student may not have the same definition as essay as the professor does. So everybody needs to be on the same playing field about that key term of essay in order to understand the grade that was given. So let's take a look at a few examples. The key terms that are provided in these questions should start sticking out to us as we get used to them. So what are the key terms that require definitions in these examples? So number one, is NASCAR a sport? What is it that everyone needs to define the same? In this case, it would be sport. Is capital punishment murder? The key term in this one would be murder. We all need to know what murder is in order to know if capital punishment is in fact that. The Dallas Cowboys are America's team. Starting to see a pattern here, we would need to define America's team. What is it that is involved with being America's team? What sort of criteria would the Dallas Cowboys need to meet in order to be America's team? Should zombie apocalypse be rated PG-13 or R? We would need to define what PG-13 and R is in order to find out what the criteria is of those ratings so that we could fit the zombie apocalypse movie into one of those categories. And finally, McDonald's is a good family restaurant. We've got two here. What does good mean? What does family mean in regards to restaurants? What categories are involved with those words? And does McDonald's fit those categories? So all of this is in our textbook. I put the citation at the bottom. Go check out chapter 5 of the textbook for more examples if you'd like them. Okay, so the example that's provided in DQ2 is the organ sales in the United States would be unethical because they exploit the poor, favor the rich, and create an unfair or black market organ lottery. So which key term will be defined here? We may initially want to say exploit, but that's giving an example of being unethical. So the key term in this case would be unethical, and then they would use the exploit the poor, favor the rich, and creating an unfair black market in order to support their idea that it is unethical.